Farewell, Sea Island Marsh Ponies. We are making this video in honor of the wild horses of South Carolina, very valuable colonial Spanish Mustangs descended from the Iberian horses brought to this country in the 1500s. Their era came to an official end in November of 2024 with the final removal of the remaining horses who roamed Little Horse Island, part of St. Helena Island in Beaufort County. They were accurately referred to as the wild horses of the Low Country, or Sea Island ponies, or even just Marsh Ponies. Officially, they were called Marsh Tackies, and officially, the Marsh Tacky was named the State Heritage Horse of South Carolina in 2010. At one time, there were hundreds of them who roamed the Sea Islands to the Savannah River. Many European settlers and Native Americans captured and tamed them. The Gullah Geechee people, who descended from slaves from Western Africa, made them an integral part of their lives. These people captured the horses also, tamed them, and used them for transportation and farm work. It is estimated that most Gullah Geechee households had at least one Marsh Tacky. Swamp Fox rode them way back in the Revolutionary War, and the Army commandeered them to patrol beaches in World War II. They are renowned for their ability to navigate through swamp mud, called pluff mud, where other horses flounder and panic. They were known for the 3 C's, calm, confident, courageous. They continued to roam until the 1980s when developers started removing them. The Low Country experienced explosive population growth, and today it has become a popular tourist destination. Mr. D.P. Lothar was one such developer and a well-known Marsh Tacky enthusiast. He would hunt wild boar with his Marsh Tackies and rehomed over 100 of them to his farm in nearby Ridgeland. He was instrumental in starting the Carolina Marsh Tacky Association in 2007. The Livestock Conservancy got involved in their preservation, and today there is a stud book and registry. At one time, there were only about 100 horses deemed to be authentic Marsh Tackies, and today there is over 400 registered horses. With so many Marsh Tackies captured by people, though, there was crossbreeding with other horse breeds. One such individual, John Henry Gay, started crossbreeding Marsh Tackies with Shetland ponies. This gave rise to his herd of 30 little Marsh Ponies who were tough as the Marsh Tacky but smaller like a Shetland. I actually picked up on rumors about a free-roaming little herd of Marsh Ponies long after the Marsh Tacky had disappeared from the landscape. I started investigating. My search led me to several dead ends. However, finally, I learned that there was indeed a small group of wild Marsh Ponies on a private island off of St. Helena Island. In fact, the 8-acre island was named after the ponies who roamed there, Little Horse Island. On March 19, 2023, I had the privilege of seeing the wild ponies for myself. I was the guest of retired vet Dr. Vinay Reese and her husband Dave. They had evolved into the herd managers. They lived nearby and told me stories about the ponies strolling around their neighborhood. I took over 200 photos and got to see them up close. However, I was asked to keep a low profile in regard to this herd because their future was uncertain. Matters were clouded by several political aspects, the coming sale of the island, and an organized group of concerned citizens who were trying to save the ponies. Since my visit in March of 2023, the small group of 7 wild Marsh Ponies has been removed and rehomed. The ponies were separated into 2 groups and now live at nearby Low Country farms. They still free roam, but they now have quality food, water, shelter, and vet farrier care. In some ways, they have an easier existence in retirement, but gazing upon wild ponies out in the marsh is gone forever, at least in South Carolina. So what is their story? I am now free to talk about them as I share my photos taken back in March of 2023. This is our tribute to the last of the wild horses in South Carolina. The Gay family of St. Helena has run a successful seafood business for over 75 years. It was started by John Buster Gay, who had 3 sons and a daughter. In addition to being a shrimper, Buster was also a horseman. He captured marsh tackies, wild horses near Hilton Head, and purchased a couple of Shetland ponies for his 2 young sons. Buster suggested to the boys that they breed their Shetlands to the marsh tackies. This endeavor produced a hybrid pony who was small, hardy, and smart, perfect for life in the marshlands. At one point, they had a herd of 30 that they turned out on the marshland around their dock on St. Helena. They cared for these ponies, sold some, and even gave some of them away. Upon Buster's death in 1980, Charles, the oldest son, kind of lost interest in the ponies as he focused on quarter horses. By then, the ponies were living on their own, and everyone loved seeing them out there on the marsh. They seemed to be doing just fine. By then, the herd had dwindled down to about 6. Charles stated in an interview that the whole thing, the half-breed ponies living on the marsh, started out by accident. However, as the years came and went, the ponies became part of St. Helena history, dating back to the 1950s. As marsh property was bought and sold, the Webb family in 1990 bought 8 acres and named their little island Little Horse Island because they seemed to inherit the free-roaming horses. They built a berm which connected their property to the mainland. The Webbs loved the ponies, and by 2014, the population of 6 had mushroomed to 15. The Webbs were faced with the difficulties of wildlife management. The ponies had started to roam the nearby neighborhoods. One was hit by a car. So Beaufort County Animal Services stepped in and castrated the stallions and gave the mares a chemical birth control shot. Dr. Reese was part of the team who aided with that process, and she actually organized the group of interested citizens who wanted to see the ponies remain out there on the marsh. Of course, at that point, the herd could no longer reproduce, and it would eventually die out. By my visit in 2023, Dr. Reese told me that it was hoped that Beaufort County would purchase Little Horse Island and create a wild horse sanctuary. Then they could introduce new studs from similar wild herds to maintain the legacy of the wild marsh ponies. Sadly, that never happened. The Webb sold Little Horse Island in 2022 to Wayne Jernigan from Charlotte, North Carolina. Due to severe health issues, Mr. Jernigan listed the property back on the market in May of 2023. He gave permission to Dr. Reese and her husband to continue as caretakers of the ponies. Otherwise, it remained private with no public access. Managing the horses had been a labor of love for the couple, but it was also becoming a burden for the 2 of them. They even had to go so far as to repair fences and add additional fencing. The original asking price for Little Horse Island was about $4 million, and there were 2 houses on the property. To stimulate sales, the price was dropped to $2 million, and the property appeared to go under contract in early 2024. There were rumors that the property was going to be divided into parcels. However, in December of 2024, public record indicates that the sale was terminated. As we release this video in April of 2025, Little Horse Island is not currently on the market and is still held by the Jernigan family. As the saga of the Sea Island Marsh Ponies came to a close on November 6, 2024, it was a sad day for those of us who value wild horses. The half-breed herd lived out there on the marshland for over 50 years, and they became quite a tourist attraction even though they were difficult to see. I understand that the two adopting families have started a Facebook page where they will post photos of the rehomed ponies. Here at Grayce Wynds, we are privileged to own a Marsh Tacky, Seabiscuit, who came off of the Lothar farm in Richland. He is currently in training, and we highly recommend Marsh Tackies as phenomenal riding horses. They do not spook, they are very fearless. We are also proud to be able to share our photos of the half-breed Tackies that remained wild until 2024. They will live on in the memories of people like me who got to see them, and those memories will always bring smiles.